Alright, it loaded up this time. Sort of. It's frozen on 0 seconds. Oh, now it's at 10 seconds. Oh, believe it. RAZOLAM1NGS. He typed to me, so you have insurance and or a therapist? I have struggled with extreme bouts of anxiety and depression, and a therapist really helped me. Everyone is different, though. You've been through a lot, and the entire time you stayed strong and handled it the best you could. At least that's what I see. I'm willing to talk or even listen too. Stay strong, man. I don't need people to just listen. The people that I went to for help, people that I tried to tell my story, the ones that kept on talking over me, they said that they would listen too. The problem is you can't get it out of your head the way that you treat autistic people. And then you want to pretend like you don't. The difference between how people treated me before they knew and after is the difference between night and day. People used to tell me how smart I was. Now they treat me like I'm fucking retarded. Retarded means slowed down, and I am slowed down. Because I got a lot to try to remember. Most of it I want to forget, but I have to remember. Because I'm never going to be allowed to forget. Nobody is going to let me forget. See, all of these people who wanted to tell me how to think and feel, they get to see their loved ones, they get to see their families. And it doesn't even occur to them how much that helps them. Hello, Carrie. Carrie typed, hi, Sean. They don't even realize, like the Martindales, they don't realize how much getting to go back and see their family for the holidays, how important that is. When you don't get to have it, it's a lot more important, isn't it? A lot of people tell me that about sex. I'm not like that about sex. I really, honestly, could care less. What the fuck is my ashtray? There it is. But the thing is, y'all don't judge anything fairly. But the thing is, y'all, a lot of people told me that they judge fairly. Well, I'll be the judge of that. If I judge people by the same measure that I hold myself to, everyone fails. Isn't that sad? There's a lot of people that I know that talk about how they would handle this situation, and they've never been anywhere close to anything approaching this situation. Zed Atkinson is afraid to leave his house in Boulder, Colorado, but he had a house in Boulder, Colorado. Sorry, an apartment. It is a big difference. Having a house denotes that it might possibly be yours, whereas if you're renting an apartment, you pretty well know that you're too broke to own the place. Now, he's just going to college there, so there's no reason for him to buy anything there. He might be rich for all I know. I don't know. I don't care. But people can know what I went through, Carrie. That's the reason that I've been posting it on the internet. That's the reason that I posted that on Facebook. That's the reason that I have fought so hard to show the truth. People keep saying, you need to put yourself in their shoes. You need to put yourself in their shoes. I did. You can listen to my videos and tell that I put myself in their shoes. I put myself in multiple situations in their shoes, multiple thought processes in their shoes. And then I broke it down to the most likely, based off of your motivations, not necessarily yours in specific. And you're right, I went through it. I'm still going through it. That's what a lot of people don't get. The news and the police and all them were so sure that I killed Natalie Bollinger. The police had absolutely no problems going, oh shit, he's a homeless white guy. Nobody is going to give a fuck about this dude. And if they do, fucking, we will be all sorts of famous. I mean, you got no idea how many of those officers and guards and nurses and all of them, the fuck, they were smiling right at the fucking cameras. But you got to keep in mind that was all stuff that happened before they found Lopez. And this abuse that I've been enduring started well before that. When I say that y'all don't judge fairly, I mean that based on whether somebody is pretty or ugly, that's your first indicator. Anytime you walk into a scenario, I want you to look at the pretty one, and I want you to look at the ugly one. I want you to make that judgment call. And then I want you to pay attention to who gets heard and who gets talked over. I want you to do a social programming test here. I want you to look through your Facebook list. Look at the most attractive people that you know that are on your Facebook friends list. And then the least attractive people that you know that are on your friends list. And I'm talking physically attractive. Now I want you to look at their selfies. Pretty people take more selfies. I probably shouldn't tell you that because that fucks up the test. But there's other parts of the test. I want you to see how many loves and how many likes each of these people get. I want you to look at it from the male side and from the female side. It's a popularity contest. That's all it is. When it all comes down to it, the laws don't mean anything at all when everybody is making their decisions based on a popularity contest. Right now, the Native Americans are not as popular as black people. Meanwhile, who is this COVID supposedly killing the most in the United States? In specific, the Navajo. The Navajo bloodline, apparently. Carrie, I do give myself the credit I deserve. I really do. I give other people the credit they deserve as well. Most of these people who screwed me over also did good things for me at some point. And I still admit to all of the good things that they did for me. But a lot of these people, we made a deal, and they didn't keep their end. Like with Lana and Amanda Engelheim, not keeping their end when it came to taking care of the dogs after they moved out and abandoned their dogs here. Now, they didn't illegally abandon them. They abandoned them with me, but they were supposed to pay for them, for their food and shots and everything like that, and they just never did. Terry Duffield, the animal control lady here in Chapel, Nebraska, that woman is a lifesaver. She made sure that the dogs had food. She made sure that I had food. And she's the one that hooked me up with the wheelchair that I took to Virginia for Natalie when her leg got all fucked up. You have no idea how bad I felt about that. I mean, here I am. I'm already 2 months late going to see Natalie, all right? I should have been there 2 months earlier. And Maddie's not able to go because she got busted selling methamphetamines. So, I mean, I'm in this situation where Natalie tells me that if I'm not already on the road, she's going to fucking kill herself. And then the first thing she does, I mean, I have to hear about this within 24 hours of her getting into an accident, you know? The other thing is that it didn't take her 24 hours to get into that accident. That was within 6 hours of her getting a hold of me. Now, although I did that math, thinking that the East Coast was like 4 time zones away, it's actually only 2. I lived in Washington State for a lot of years, That's where I learned about the time zones, and that's pretty much where I do the math from anywhere based on, just automatically, and it's a bad habit. People do a lot of mean things to dogs. There's a dog right over here at the city place. It's a female dog. I don't know who she belongs to, or I'd go break the law and get her out and take her home. I got 10 snips. Pulled them out of a trash pile. They're rusty as shit. But you know what? It's not the only tool I got. I was able to use some tools I got in here called files. They might still be out for when I used them. They are. They're underneath this. Oh, God, my fucking back. Files. These are sharp enough to get that dog out. Plus, it's hot as fuck out there. Now it's starting to cloud over, so that dog's doing a little bit better. But there's nothing for that dog as far as padding or something to lay on. It's just cement. And if it starts raining, that dog is stuck outside in the rain. And if it does start raining and the city doesn't get over there quickly, I'm going to hurt myself by dragging some of this plywood over there and putting it on top of the thing. I'm sorry I went on that tangent. It made me completely forget what this video is even supposed to be about. But I've got it open here. All right. Insurance since Natalie's death and before her death. I didn't have insurance for the entirety of my adult life. I just never had it. I applied for disability. My dad wasn't going to help me unless I was on disability, or at least trying to get disability. And that was the deal that he made with my aunt when I lived with her prior to turning 21. And that was not a fun situation. Sorry, my truck's is acting up. So, according to my dad, I was supposed to have disability at 18, and it was just a button click away. Well, my dad could always come forward about that. He's not going to, though, because my dad's a coward. He only picks on people littler than him. Now then, we got a lot of alcoholics. Alcoholics always have the same excuse why they're drunk. Well, it's legal. Is your pot legal? Shit, if I smoked pot the way that you drink beer, I'd go to rehab for pot. I seriously would. I mean, I smoked real heavily when I was a lot younger. I did. I probably smoked, well, back in the day, it was dirt weed, or we called it brick. And I don't know, I probably went through a quarter a day for about a month there even. But the thing is that I don't really do well on weed unless I'm in a social situation where there's going to be a lot of people there, or there's going to be people between me and the door. And the reason for that is because of, well, being ganged up on the system by staff members. See, for the most part, you don't actually have to worry about the other people that you're locked up with. What you have to worry about is the staff members. Either A, not paying attention, or B, perpetrating themselves, or C, looking away because you're the crazy one. So obviously that staff member would never do such a thing because you're crazy. A lot of predators get into that line of work because of that. A lot of predators go into law enforcement. A lot of predators is law enforcement the only field that they get into? Oh no. You definitely want to get into the mental health field in specific if you want easy victims. Like, first of all, you know, if somebody is raped by a staff member, there's the fact that they're a staff member. They're a higher authority, so their word automatically means more than yours. And then there's the fact that they're in the mental health field. So they can basically manipulate to have you diagnosed with whatever they want. Law enforcement can do this as well. This is because of people's assumptions. You want to assume that the cops are the good guys. You want to assume that the person that they bring in is mentally ill. And then you take the words that the cops told you and your assumption of this human being that they brought in. And when that person says, hey, those cops did some screwed up things, now the first thing they want to do is put drugs in you. After I left Virginia, I got a caseworker. Her name was Tamara through Region 1. She knew what the fuck she was doing, but she also has a son who's autistic. Kind of like Laura Nelson has a son who's autistic. Summer has a son who's autistic. Mary Sunshine has a son who's autistic. But that's her real name, too. She used to work at Starbucks in Boulder, Colorado. But because of that, and because of Brenda Dickinson helping me out and actually going in with me in person, that's the very first person ever in my entire life to go in with me to try to get help was Brenda Dickinson. She's right across the street from here. And that was the first time I got help. A lot of predators go into law enforcement. You're right, Harry Zombie. The problem with alcohol is that it gives you oxygen deprivation to the brain. My dad's an asshole. Whether he's drunk or sober, he's pretty well an asshole. He's not as much of an asshole to his wife because he really likes vagina. I mean, like, really likes vagina. When I'm talking about really likes vagina, I mean, this guy likes vagina so much that him and his wife were swingers. Or at least they were before they got old. This guy was so into vagina that he wanted his underage son to make porno sites for him. Who is that underage son? That's me. Matter of fact, I was going to Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington. I want you guys to look that up. Look up Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington. Their yearbook is online. I want you to look at the yearbook from 1995. The yearbook from 1995 has a picture of me. It's also got a picture of all the other kids in the school. There's something that you're going to notice about Lincoln High School. It's a minority high school. It's mostly black folks and Asian folks. Our rival was Stadium High School. That's mostly white folks. I would not have done well at Stadium High School. I did pretty well at Lincoln High School. Part of that is because of a senior who was a wrestler by the name of Jess Workman. And he felt bad for me being a white boy in that school, and he said he understands. There was also some kids after school that wanted to slap box. I told them I wasn't going to slap them, but I'd keep my guard up because they weren't going to let me leave. But he's a white boy. Well, I got slapped around by a few folks, and, I was maintaining my calm and pretending like it was just a game. And by the end of it, they pretended it was just a game. I got to hear a whole bunch of black folks at Lincoln High School all yelling. That stuff only happens in the movies, right? I guess it wasn't a bunch of people. There was maybe 20 people overall, and not all of them were young. But, when you're 15 and you're one of the few white kids in your school and you're a lot different, even one person would have been enough to make it a grand memory. And it was a lot more than one person. And they were all saying the same thing. White boy got heart. White boy got heart. You're damn right I do. What, you think Lincoln High School is the first time I ever encountered minorities? Fuck no, I grew up in the system. Denver, Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. Boulder, Colorado was mostly white. I'm going to tell you that first and foremost. The Centennial Peaks was mostly a bunch of rich white kids. Most of them were there on suicide watch for cutting themselves with a Lady Bic or similar. And most of them were molested by their daddies and told their mommies, and mommy didn't listen. There are hundreds of people, hundreds of women in specific, who, when I say that, they're like, yeah, I went through that too. You're telling the truth. Well, duh, I'm telling the truth. I grew up in the system with where do you go when you cut yourself? Where do they put you when you cut yourself? The same place they put me, because I want my life to be over, because nobody will listen. Now, I understand you guys are listening, but listening with the intent to help is the important thing. Shannon Alvarado, she had the intent to help. She had every intent to help. But her alcoholism got in the way. With mid speeches, she had every intent to help. But the police got in the way. Her mother got in the way. Her family got in the way. Same thing with the Martindales. Justine was going to help me. Her family told her not to. But she didn't tell me that. You know who I had to hear it from? Her sister's husband, Will Barr, the cop who told me that train Terry Zombie wrote, Catholic school didn't create my demons, it just enhanced them. I was in a Catholic group home in Denver, Colorado called Mount St. Vincent's. That was the first place I was ever raped. I'd been molested at that point, but I'd never been raped. That was also where I got to encounter a priest who was an asshole. There were some older boys, and the priest had the older boys beat me up in front of him. Now let me tell you how many times that priest touched me inappropriately. He never did. Matter of fact, he never once touched me at all. I don't think he got within 6 feet of me at any point in time. Not all abuse is sexual abuse, and not all predators are sexual predators. In most cases of spousal abuse and spousal murder, alcohol is involved. In most cases of incest, alcohol is involved. At least the first time. Most of the relationships that I know started over getting drunk and having sex. Most of the children that I know, now mind you, the generation before me was probably just as influenced by alcohol, and my generation was definitely just as influenced by alcohol and influenced by a shit ton of drugs. But most of the kids from all of these younger generations than my own, I can attest to the fact that most of them were the product of people going on a bender. They're product of people getting drunk and having unprotected sex because they're drunk and they're not thinking right. We live in a society that perpetuates rape. We say it's bad, but then we put all of the tools in place for that fucking disaster. We say alcohol is bad, and then we sell more alcohol than anything else. We sell more alcohol than gasoline. Just saying. So then we encounter the situation of therapy. Now you notice I keep going on tangents about what they're typing at me, but I do need to kind of stick to the video a bit, at least the topic. Before Natalie was killed, I had 3 different therapists. I had Nicole Peralta, I had Jeff Ritter, and I had Nicole Gerald. And Kinga Nichols, she's the lady from Hungary who sent me the money so that I could go see Nicole Peralta before Natalie died. That was part of that $400 that I was, when I made that video and Natalie disappeared, about, and mind you, this isn't the stuff that they put on there. They only wanted to put up stuff that made me look psycho. But I was asking for her to call her mom and telling her that I'll give her $400 to get her someplace safe. It's all I got. I mean, at that point in time, I was already scared. You know, this is a telephone call that I had been dreading. I mean, first of all, we're talking about somebody who's high risk, highly volatile, has made repeated suicide attempts, cuts on herself, and her predators still have constant access to her. Many of these predators have raped her in the past, or physically or sexually or emotionally harmed her over and over and over again. And worse than that, these are the guys who were getting a hold of me and threatening my life, starting well before Natalie was ever killed. Tim Beeson threatened my life for the first time, possibly for the first time in January, if I count the phone calls. But the very first time that I can verify that it was him was through screenshots from my Facebook of our messages between each other. And it was March. I was holding my fingers up because I remember it's the 3rd month of the year. That was right before I moved to Ken and Leah's. Matter of fact, I was about to go out the door to go see Ken and Leah and move my stuff there when Tim Beeson got a hold of me. And we have a big, long argument about that, too. First he says he's on his bike, and then he's in a car, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, if you guys look at the conversation between me and Tim, I caught all of his lies. I have a built-in lie detector. When I don't trust you, there's a reason I don't fucking trust you. The other thing is that there's your pretty words. Oh, Sean, you have to do this and you have to do that. Well, I tried what you wanted and it didn't end up how you wanted it to. So, lo and behold, I must not have made an effort. In reality, you didn't make an effort to find out what was going on to begin with. A lot of you guys are new to this story, and I really feel bad for you because I've been trying to explain it for 2 years. Well, 3 years. Sorry, Carrie. Be safe. See, I started trying to get somebody to listen to me as soon as I got back to Boulder and realized what the fuck was going on. It's like, holy shit. And there's a lot of people who knew what was going on in Virginia that when Natalie disappeared, they fucking hightailed it like the little bitches they are. Like Case Leighton Morse, who I used to know from here. He's one of the few people out of that whole meth head group that I actually remained in contact with. The Case was always a good guy, even when he was fucking twacked out of his goddamn gourd. But him, Sage, Ogre, fuck, first thing they did was drop me off like a bad goddamn habit. And that's what happens when you're falsely accused. But that didn't start just because Natalie was killed. That started over a year earlier when they started slandering my name in Virginia because they wanted to hide the fact that they invited me. They wanted to hide their drug habits. They were embarrassed. And as a result, it didn't matter to them how much harm came to me because they were embarrassed. Oh, poor white girl got embarrassed. I'm sorry. No, I'm fucking not. It seems like the prettier people are, the more they're stuck on social graces. No such thing as social grace. Social norms, and of course, we have to worry about etiquette. Know your role, know your place, know you're this, and know you're that. I know I'm a human being, and I am no less of a human being than Donald fucking Trump. Meanwhile, he's done all the things that I have on my record. He has committed crimes that I was accused of committing and never did. But he's the president. So through all of this, I've been to places all over the place, and everywhere that I went, I tried to get a therapist. I had a therapist in Longmont. I went to 2 sessions before I got arrested. I got arrested for something that had happened like a week earlier, and I'd tried to turn myself in the week earlier. I went, I committed the crime, and then I posted that I committed the crime in public for God and everyone to see to show that I wasn't hiding it. And then I told them where I was going so they could come and get me and arrest me. I was sleeping when the cops came and knocked on my window. Obviously, the way that they painted the situation versus the way the situation actually was were not the same. But my public pretenders weren't going to do their goddamn jobs no matter what. No matter what. If I went in to try to turn in these people for the things that they were doing, I got blown off. The cops pretended that they were going to help, and they literally never did. I've had 12 therapists since Natalie was killed. However, I had no income. I just got my disability money back. I have too much stuff to be able to function. All I can do is talk on the internet. I can't stop and go through those things that traumatize me and sit down and organize it because I am rushed. Because there are consequences for me if I can't do these things, and I can't do these things unless someone teaches me how in person. In addition, I will not be heard unless one goddamn person on this fucking planet has the goddamn balls and actually cares enough to sit with me and go through this shit so they're familiar with the goddamn situation.
And a lot of these people, they communicated me via telephone. Those 3 telephones that were fucking stolen in Washington State were full of evidence of that. You know what's fucked up about that? When these people did fucked up shit to me, they wanted to threaten me with the law. I'm like, excuse me, you're the one who was calling me a snitch ass bitch. If you molest a fucking child, yes, I'm gonna call the fucking cops. You know why I'm gonna call the cops? Because I said I would turn these fucking predators in. And I'm keeping my motherfucking word. All you guys who said that you'd cut their balls off or shoot them in the fucking head or this, that, and the other, you fucking lying piece of shit. You're a fucking snake. You're a bitch ass little bitch. You know the cops ain't gonna do shit. And you know you're not gonna do shit because you're as much of a bitch as the fucking cops. You don't like this verbal abuse? You don't fucking like it? But I'm supposed to be fine and dandy with it? And then people say, oh, well, you need to move somewhere else. You have no idea how many fucking morons assume that I still live in Boulder, Colorado. I haven't been able to go to Boulder, Colorado without being assaulted in over 3 years, you stupid motherfucker. If I say that 10 million goddamn more times, you're going to send me 30 fucking text messages apiece to ask me all the questions that I already fucking answered. I've been speaking out for 3 goddamn years about just this situation. No, I don't need your pretty goddamn words. I need my human rights, or I need a hole in the head. If I'm allowed to show just what I have in evidence now, not counting what Molly Smith has in Sydney, and not counting what Kayla Trujillo has in Longmont, I still have enough on there for at least 200 convictions. Between that and the paperwork, we're talking about close to 100 officers who will go to prison. Wait, no, they won't. Police can get away with murder, obviously. But now we got this situation where there are 3 cops being charged with accessory to murder. Meanwhile, everybody who ignored me when I said what they did to me in Clearview is an accessory to Tibor Hatay's murder. Do you know why? Because he was murdered by the exact same things that I was telling you that Clearview was doing. The truth is, none of these places are professional. None of them. The mental health care system in America is a fucking joke. It's a racket to take your fucking money and victimize people nobody fucking cares about. Meanwhile, did any of these therapists do anything useful? No, they didn't. Matter of fact, when they found out that I recorded our conversations, they outright started to lie themselves. Maybe they should have thought about that. Maybe they should have thought to themselves, I should do my fucking job. Instead of breaking the law to hide the fact that they didn't afterwards. There's been over $3 million taxpayer dollars wasted on me to cover up the crimes of the police? Do you want your money used to cover up the crimes of the police? That's what you need to ask yourselves right now. To be honest with you, I want to blow my head off on live national TV. I want everyone to see it. I want all of these people who stabbed me in the back, all of these people who stole from me, all of these people who abused me and used me until I had nothing left, all of these people who promised to help me both before and after Natalie was dead, who promised me that they would help me, and I jumped through their hoops, and I gave them what they wanted, and they didn't keep their end of the bargain. All of these people who chose to get drunk and be assholes instead of keeping their word. All of these people who were strung out on meth, who didn't keep their word. I want them all to watch me blow my goddamn head off. I want them all to see how much they hurt me and how much their decision to look the other way resulted in both physical and mental and financial harm. When the police steal $600 from me every single month, and I don't even get to show evidence or have an actual fucking lawyer or even meet with an actual fucking lawyer for longer than 5 minutes. Who was the first public pretender to spend more than 5 minutes? Stephanie Cotton, and she wasn't even my fucking public pretender. That was over the assault at Clearview. They killed 2 people, by the way. And they got a big, long record of people killing themselves after leaving there. That place is hell. If Natalie had called me and told me that she was suicidal and she wanted someone to shoot her in the head, I'd have gone to pick her up, but I sure as hell wouldn't have shot her in the head. I would have gone right back to being the person that I was in Virginia. The person who was concerned and scared for her. Just like I did with Desiree when she did fucked up shit. And a great many others. Yeah, what Candace did was fucked up. But if she called me and needed my help, I'd be there. The idea that if you refuse to look at evidence that there was no crime committed is fucking phenomenally stupid. The thing is, every single officer who's been involved with me since Natalie died, every single one, I don't even want to say that out loud. Holy shit. There was a grand total of probably 8 officers out of the at least 200 officers that I have had interactions with since Natalie's death. There's maybe 8 of them that were not criminally negligent.
8 of them that could not be charged with conspiracy for what they did. There was 2 officers up there in Wyoming who stopped me for sleeping in a parking lot. Said there was a lot of drug dealers and stuff like that doing drugs and making drug sales in the parking lot, so I had to move. And there was some of the officers at the Starbucks there that, well, most of those officers I got to see harass homeless people, so it's not like they were completely free and clear of it, but they minded their shit inside of Starbucks. There was an officer, I want to say around Lyman, Colorado or so, when I was coming back up here, and he gave me directions to get back to the interstate. The thing is, pretending that it's not happening because it's not happening to you is not acceptable. Also, pretending that you're the only person going through it and trying to prevent other people who are going through it from getting help is screwed up. See, with all of these people who were abused by the Border Police Department, I tried to work together with them. But because of the situation of my safety, if I went to border, I was forced to do this stuff over the internet. There is no such thing as justice in America. If you guys aren't going to fight for justice for us, if black people are better than Native Americans, more deserving, and also than the poor, and also Hispanic folks, and the immigrants from all over the world, well, I don't want to be a part of this world. I'm not going to bow down to a white man, and I'm sure as shit not going to bow down to anybody else either. I don't owe you anything for the color of your skin. I respect you because you're a human being, and if I disrespect you, you earned that shit. A lot of people say you should write it down. You know what? I've got a lot of it typed out. I also need some actual positivity in my life. In my life. Positive human interaction. Let's do something fun. A lot of people do fun stuff every day with other human beings, and then they want to complain about how much their life sucks. I'm like, holy shit. I've been in that environment. You live in fucking paradise. If you got just one good friend, just one, you got more than I do. Don't get me wrong, I got lots of people I consider friends. But since Natalie's death, that's a difficult thing to believe, and it's a difficult thing for me to imagine. I love Natalie. I love Alicia too. I love Natalie enough that when I went to Virginia, I was sober. I mean, completely sober, not even smoking weed. I already know that addicts have a hard time getting off of that shit, and it's even harder when they're around somebody who's fucked up. When I'm listening to an alcoholic, yeah, the whole time I'm listening to him, I'm like, holy shit. See, this is why I should have kept drinking. This guy might be tolerable if I was drunk. Then again, I might say something that'll piss him off, and then I'd have to beat him up. And that's another not fun part of getting drunk.
So finally, I got my disability back. I just got my second disability payment, 700 and something bucks. It's enough to cover my bills, but just barely. I'm right back where I started before Natalie died, except instead of just blowing me off, well, most of those supposed friends threw me away over decisions that they made. See, a lot of people hated me and loved Natalie right from the start. Wanted to pretend that I was the one who was the drug addict and she's this sweet, pristine thing because she's pretty. Oh, she's so pretty. She looks so sweet and innocent. She would never do drugs. Fuck, dude, she was a fucking dealer when she was 13. She coped with being raped by her dad and various other males in her life by getting fucked up, by trying to stay fucked up. Your solutions for me is for me to get fucked up, whether I'm fucked up on marijuana or meth or alcohol or Haldol or imipramine or clonidine or Ativan or Pimozide. It doesn't matter. Your fucking solutions as a country is to get fucked up. Because you're fucking idiots. A whole goddamn country of fucking idiots. Most of these people who wanted to help, when they were sober, they didn't make any effort. But they're all gung-ho when they are too fucked up to do anything useful except waste my time and add more stress, add more shitty situations to the story. People love that I'm honest until I'm honest about them. Miss Peaches, I was explaining to her, I was like, hey, Miss Peaches, I went over to your house 4 times before Natalie died about this situation. We have had multiple discussions since about that. We had discussions at the time about that. And you couldn't come forward in public about that. You couldn't write it down. You said you were going to do both, and then you did neither. No, you do not get to keep your name out of this. I went to you for help. The least you can fucking do is admit it. I tried to get help. I tried to get help from my friends. And I got called a stalker. Did Natalie get called a stalker when she asked her friends for help? No, she didn't. She's a pretty girl. Everyone wants to fucking help the pretty girl. What I want is assisted suicide to be legal. What I want is for anyone with the tag of mentally ill, anybody who has been accused of a heinous crime, to be able to kill themselves whenever they want. I want them to be able to lay down in a suicide booth, press that button, and never have to deal with you judgmental assholes again. And no, I don't mean in a court of law. I don't think that you should have to be convicted to have that right. There are lots of women who say those things just to destroy somebody's life because they were embarrassed. Or because they got back with their predator. But I love him. No. Your parents were fucked up fucking morons too. And when that boy hit you on the playground, what did your parents tell you? Oh, he only did that because he likes you. Instead of going and doing something about someone physically abusing your child, Like you say, oh, if somebody ever laid a hand on my child, don't fucking lie to me. That little boy laid a hand on your little girl, and you let her know. That's how she can tell that a boy likes her. Oh, if he abuses me, he must love me. Well, I know he loves me now. Why won't he stop abusing me? Why won't he change? If he really loved me, he'd change. Oh, God, now I got to go to the hospital. I fell down the stairs. You're a fucking idiot. You can love somebody and still know that they're absolutely no good for you. But in that particular scenario, you have a complex. It's not about them. It's about you wanting to feel powerful, as if you can change somebody. Like, oh, if he loves me enough. No, if he loved you enough, he wouldn't have done it to begin with. But the other thing is, if you force a situation where a man is doing something that you don't like, don't just automatically run around and talk shit about that man to cover up the fact that you did something fucked up. I know a lot of women and a lot of men. This is not a gender specific situation. I know a lot of women and a lot of men. Oh, fuck, that hurt. Who will do that fucked up shit, go running around fucking talking shit about somebody and destroy their life, not take it to court, just run around to all their friends and fucking slander their name. Laura Nelson could come forward about all of that, but she's afraid of you people. By you people, I don't mean you black people or you white people. I mean you human beings, the general public. Homeless people know all about public opinion. All that stuff that if I say it about a black person, it makes me racist. But if you say it about me, it's fine. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. I got 10 million thoughts running through my head all the fucking time. And it's mostly the negativity that I've had to go through the last 3 years. And I get pretty words on the internet. Them pretty words aren't help. I need actual help in person. And the longer this went along, and the more abuse that I had to take, and the more desperate shit that I had to do, the more impossible it was. Literally, the only way to get any of this done is to get help in person. And look at this. Look at the situation with Nicole Peralta. She hasn't made any real effort. Look at the situation with Jen Beebe. She hasn't made any real effort. Actually, she hasn't made any effort. In the last 5 months, Jen Beebe has made zero effort to do anything, up to and including something as simple as a callback. That's not going to give me anxiety. Sean, do you have insurance? Sean, are you trying to see a therapist? How about, do I have the ability to? I can barely function well enough to make these videos. You expect someone to be able to function through trauma? It's one thing when somebody gets out of the household where they were raped, and you're like, hey, you're having some problems adjusting. Well, you might want to give them some time. It's a different thing entirely when they are in the house where they were raped, where they told you repeatedly that they were being raped, and they're being raped. And while they're being raped, they turn on their phone, and in order to protect themselves, they just leave the phone on. What do? You hang up the phone. Or you tell them how they need to think or feel. Or you text them, it sounds like you pocket dialed me. Sounds like you were having fun. People keep saying, Sean, you need to just worry about yourselves, or you just need to worry about yourself. What about all of these people who have harmed me and continue to harm me, and the continued harm that will come to me in the future because I was never allowed to defend myself against this slander in a court of law? Public pretenders love somebody who's considered mentally ill but has no guardian, because they're going to get paid and they don't have to do anything. And it doesn't matter that they don't do anything, because nobody's going to listen to somebody with the tag of mentally ill unless there is a guardian present. I don't have that. I'm not allowed to be pissed off or frustrated at the abuse that I have to take without one. Jen Beebe didn't do a goddamn thing. Kara Heller didn't do a goddamn thing. Those are the two fucking caseworkers, supposed caseworkers, that I've had since Tamara left. Jen Beebe through Region 1, and Kara Heller through Colorado Coalition of the fucking Homeless. All of the places that I could go about autism, about a proper diagnosis, about getting actual help and having actual services, is all along the Front Range. The Front Range doesn't come into Nebraska. I have to go to Colorado for that. In order to be close to my friends, I have to go to Colorado for that too. That's why I was staying at Ken and Leah's. So I could see my friends, and so that I could get the help there that I couldn't get here in Nebraska. So you want to ask about my mental health and my therapy and my insurance? I haven't had my disability income or insurance for the last 2 years, but I have still made the effort without those resources. Explaining to these therapists every time that I go, hey, we need to actually get something done today. I need you to look at this evidence instead of treating me the way that you're treating me, which is, all right, I'm going to sit and listen to you for an hour because I get paid for it. I don't need somebody to just listen. I need something to be done about the fact that I had to break the law to try to force the law to investigate the crimes against me. And then officers who did not do their jobs and are aware that they can go to prison for up to 15 years for not doing their jobs in the way that they did. I have to go to these cops to ask for help? Are you fucking crazy? But yeah, black rights or whatever. Because everybody else in America has everything perfect and shit. You know, saying that black people have it worse than everyone else. First of all, it's not fucking true. There are lots of black people who are better off than nearly every white person in America. Barack Obama is a prime fucking example. Does Barack Obama go through worse shit than I do? No. He doesn't have to go through it alone. He has armed bodyguards. You know what's even scarier than that? So does Donald Trump. Let's see if there's anything in here that I might have missed. He said the entire time I stayed strong. I tried my best, but I want my life to be over. Now, I would like to see this through to its conclusion, see these motherfuckers in jail so they can't harm you and yours, but I'm not part of you and yours. And I have shown time and again that the things that I needed, all of these people had all along. The help that I needed, Natalie got that help. Natalie got the help that I was asking for. Meanwhile, she didn't need that help I did. She wasn't being abused over me slandering her name. I was being abused over her slandering mine. Because I didn't slander her name. Was she on heroin? Yes, the fuck she was. But you guys don't want to hear that.